His name is Charlie McMahon, and no All-Ireland medal winner with Dublin has a more remarkable story than Charlie McMahon. As a boy, he was in the GPO for the Easter Rising. In 1921, he took part in the burning of the Custom House, where he received a bullet in the head. It was eventually removed in what was a life or death operation. But incredibly, he resumed playing hurling with a metal band around his head, and he became a stalwart in the Dublin defence, eventually becoming an All-Ireland champion. This is the story of Charlie McMahon. As an 11-year-old, Charlie acted as a runner for the volunteers in the GPO. He was a member of Fianna Éireann, an Irish nationalist movement for boys and teenagers. An O'Toole's clubmate of Charlie, GA historian Jimmy Wren, tells how Charlie and Jimmy's own father ended up in the GPO.
Yeah, there were a lot of teenagers involved in the Rising. Charlie McMahon, for instance, was 11 years of age. He was 3 days in the GPO, going on messages and stuff like that.
And your father, tell us a story about your father, James.
Well, he went with 3 friends down O'Connell Street on Easter Monday, and they met a man and he told them to give their services, go into the GPO, which they did. My father was given a shotgun. I don't know whether he ever used one before in his life.
After a stint in the GPO, Charlie joined B Company, 2nd Battalion of the Dublin Brigade. And 5 years later, in 1921, Charlie was part of the Dublin Brigade's largest ever raid on the Custom House.
Now, Eamon de Valera, as he says to the Cabinet, he's Provisional Government Cabinet, we need big gestures. You know, we need to show that we are a legitimate government, and if these are our legitimate armed forces, they have to be engaged in big conventional battles. So he forces a very reluctant Oscar Traynor and the rest of the Dublin IRA command, he forces them into attacking the Customs House. Of course, the problem is getting 120, 130 IRA men together, it's going to arouse suspicion. And in a very heavily policed and heavily army patrolled city like Dublin is at this point,
and so it turns into a running battle, and there's casualties on both sides. But the really bad thing for the Dublin Brigade is they lose between 60 and 80 men are captured. And these are men normally aged between 18 and 25, vastly experienced over the previous 3 years, and now they're off to jail. And the fire was started with oil and petrol, so once that took off, and of course, as I was saying, the records are there, all paper-based, and the whole building burns for 5 days before the firemen can go in, and what remains is just a shell.
Several volunteers were killed and many were injured, including Charlie McMahon. He was arrested and brought to the military hospital with a severe head wound. In fact, a bullet had lodged near his brain, but Charlie, in his witness statement, explained how he escaped and it wasn't spotted. And he subsequently suffered partial deafness and epileptic fits. On his release, he was straight back into the action.
He joined the Free State Army in 1922, took part in the attack on the Four Courts, and he became ill with his injuries. And between that and 1923, he was in and out of different hospitals, and they didn't know that he had a bullet in his head actually, and until they X-rayed him in 23, and. They found they came across the bullet in the head near the brain, and they decided that it was a very dangerous operation, 100-to-1 survival chance, but went ahead with it anyway.
The only surgeon willing to perform the operation was Sir William de Courcy Wheeler, ironically a British Army surgeon. It was his brother, Captain Harry de Courcy Wheeler, who accepted Padraig Pearse's surrender in 1916.
He's a very, very famous surgeon, a very passionate man. So surgeons in those days were sort of rock stars, if you like, of the medical profession. They were known for, they were the people who would save your life. And in this case, he seems to have kind of, where other surgeons had kind of declined to operate, he went in there and did an operation that other surgeons were too scared to do.
The operation was successful, and Sir William gave Charlie this remarkable sick note. This is to certify that Mr. C.E. McMahon underwent a very serious operation of removal of a bullet from the brain on December 10, 1925. He is unable for much exertion at present. Incredibly, Charlie was back playing hurling within a year. Even more remarkably, he had to wear a protective metal band around his head after the intricate surgery. But not only did he resume playing, he got back to playing at the highest level.
He had a steel plate in his head, but it was a protective band. He eventually recovered, and he ended up playing for Dublin from 1929. Originally played for Kevin's, won a National League medal in Hurling National League medal in 1929. He played for right through the 20s and 30s. He played football with O'Toole's. He played in several championship finals, football finals with O'Toole's. His last, 1941 was his last All-Ireland appearance. They were beaten by Cork in the 41 final, hurling final.
But the undoubted highlight of Charlie McMahon's career was winning the All-Ireland Senior Hurling title with Dublin, beating Waterford in the final on the 4th of September 1938 by 2-5 to 1-6. Charlie played at left corner back, wearing his customary big cap over the metal band. It was the crowning glory in a great inter-county career that saw Charlie represent Dublin for over a decade. This is the last Dublin team to win an All-Ireland Senior Hurling title, and one of the stars was the young boy from the GPO in 1916.